All right. This is Dragon Man Edutainment. Okay. And I want to go ahead and talk about this guy. This will be an epilogue of a series that I'm going to do on a particular guy on YouTube. And his name is Eric July. And the reason why I'm going to do an epilogue on this man, Eric July, of course, I guess you could say fame, comic book creator, comic book writer, and a guy that has this thing called the Rippaverse. And what else does he have? He has a warehouse. He has a business, of course, going on that's made over $3.8 million in his first campaign, and I guess has grossed $8 million circa. I'm not sure. Didn't look into the numbers. It's not really my concern in this epilogue, but this is going to be part of a series that I'm going to do on this channel, really explaining from my perspective what's going on with Eric July and just some of the things that I've seen on many different fronts and many different variables, many different levels. Because I believe that, me being a comic book fan, going back to when I was 10 years, 2001. 2001 was when I was a comic book fan, so I was around 9 years old. Yeah, I was 9 years old, ironically enough. Or 10, excuse me, I was 10 years old around that time. I was born in 91, January 12th of 1991, so I would have been 10 when I first got my first batch of comic books at a dollar bookstore. Anyways, he's a very intriguing character. Speaking of Eric July, he's very intriguing as a character because there's a lot of variables, a lot of things that I've noticed and a lot of things that I've seen. Me being a guy that was a supporter of him going back to 2022, when I started to first discover that there was a comic book creator that was actually doing it pretty well in the indie atmosphere, in the indie sphere. All right, if that's a way to say it. Look, it was very intriguing to me, and it was very mind-blowing. Not so much mind-blowing, but it was more the fact that it was more, how should I say, amazing. Well, I guess amazing, mind-blowing is synonymous, but the point is that, it's unprecedented, even, dealing with the indie comic book scene. Of course, I've definitely have looked into it before, but not as much as I have in the last 2 or 3 years. And when I look at this whole situation with Eric July, at first I was a guy that supported the guy, of course, for a multitude of reasons. To be honest, it's hard to see a lot of brothers in our, a lot of brothers in this or in that particular sector of entertainment or that particular sector of avenue to see them be that successful and to have their own kind of business. So that was something that was very intriguing. Also, too, understanding that when you deal with the mainstream and the things that they've been pushing out the last 7 to 10, really is longer than 10 years, but the craziness, more in your face, more overt things that they've been trying to push on the masses through the various forms of entertainment, whether it be comic books, video games, entertainment all together, is very eye-opening. And also too, alienating the hardcore fans of the original content that they were once consuming. So we understand that this is something that, people call it the culture war. It's not even really a culture war because this is something that's going on through all forms of entertainment or people that are trying to be independent and create their own thing in their particular sector of entertainment. There's this thing going on between people who are hardcore, people who are traditional versus the new age, wave that is being pushed. And of course, the media has all the power. But one thing that the media doesn't have is the numbers, because they are a small minority. You have a large majority that are regular citizens that want to see good quality stuff, and they are willing to pay for. But for whatever reason, you have these people that want to be dictators and borderline straight up draconian in the way they go about pushing out their material. You have to like what I have. You have to like you have to like it. You have to sit there and smile no matter what we put in your face. So I say that to say this. It was refreshing to see somebody that was supposedly an independent creator, because this is a war against the independents versus the machine. That's what this is overall. And this is not something that I've coined. There was a very intelligent, famous brother. Well, I don't even think he would even say that, but there was a brother that said this a long time ago, that this was going to happen. And lo and behold, almost like a damn prophet, it's coming to fruition. But the point is, that's what's going on. And with Eric July, you're seeing, at first glance, this is what I thought. Once again, an independent creator to come out and do what he's doing. Very unprecedented. Doesn't matter how which way you look at it. Very unprecedented. So I was supporting him in 2022, going into 2023. And of course, they were saying him and his gang of individuals, and I'll touch on those guys later on in later videos as I do this video series on this man Eric July. And of course, let me just also add this too. I have no personal problem. I don't have nothing personal against this guy. I'm just more of making an assessment of what I've been seeing and what I've been come to know of this guy over the past, I guess, 7 months later on in 2024. Once again, 2022 and 2023 are the years I was supporting this guy, as far as maybe making comments, super chats, or not even just that, just watching his videos and liking what he has to say about certain topics. Now, of course, I will say this, right, as I'm going to get into the various variables. There's layers to people and layers to things when you deal with a lot of these content creators, and a lot of people don't understand because I'm not going to say certain guys aren't intelligent, because that's not the case. There are people that are intelligent, but they look at things on a surface level. They look at things at a tangible level. They don't look at things on an intangible level, and they don't look at things far, from a higher perspective, from a higher level of understanding. And that's something I come to understand about a lot of people just in general, right? But I'm going to say that for later in this video. But point being, with Eric July, I've seen a lot of things, that I started to see things in 2023 that I was with him on some of the things that he was saying. But at the same time, I did notice a certain level of redundancy. And funny thing is, when I started to watch this with a family member, they started to recognize a certain level of redundancy with the constant complaining about the industry. If you are a creator and you're seeing the bullshit that's going on in the industry, that's alienating you and other like-minded people, which is the vast majority of people that either go out to watch movies, play video games, read comic books, read graphic novels, what other forms of entertainment, watch sports. I mean, it's almost in everything. I mean, this agenda that they're pushing, right? But it's one thing to make comments and make videos on it, but when that's all you do is to constantly push out negativity. That's an imbalance, and that is something of that's a. And it's not to say that there's a whole lot of positive things to say, but there are things that are good, that are positive, that are of quality, that you can definitely say that it's very well done. It's something that you can go and observe and say, look, this is a pretty good game. This is a pretty good movie. This is a good TV series. You don't see that constantly with these people. What you see, in particular with Eric July and some of his cronies and, straight up mentally disturbed people that he's dealing with. Some people I believe, should be put in the mental hospital taking medication. That's just my opinion. All right. Just my honest assessment. All right. But point being is that, these people complain all the damn time. And I started to notice redundancy, but at the same time, I did agree with them when they started to talk about these things. Now, when it came to the aspect of how should I say, Eric July and what he was doing against the industry, I was all for it, right? But I was not but I will say this, I was not aware of the various different things that was going on with this guy, whether it be him arguing with certain people that were employed by him, people that he worked with that were veterans in the industry, people that, I may not even really too much care for, but that'll give critique, about his product. And I was not aware of the way he would respond to these particular people. I thought a lot of these people, because some of these people are straight up weirdos, like people that wear blue hair and, they're part of the alphabet mafia, you know what I'm saying? That loves children and, that likes little boys and little girls and shit. Those type of people. But I'm going to keep it formal on this video. But the point being with that, he had issues with these particular people because he boasts himself to be a very boisterous, very challenging, come take all challengers type of person. Now, me as a content creator myself, I can resonate with that because that's what I've done. Because I've been on various platforms on YouTube. One in particular, religious platform that I, of course, I don't feel like disclosing because that has nothing to do with this. That's not really many people's business. I mean, if people know me and know what I'm about, then you should already know what I'm talking about. All right. So you already know how confrontational I can be. But also, too, dealing with the YouTube boxing community, you have to be confrontational with certain people because it can get real like that because of the atmosphere that boxing creates. All right. Me, myself, I am a boxer. Me, myself, I am a guy that does that. So being challenged, if someone tells me to hit that motherfucking link, I will hit that link. I promise you that. Right? Because I don't like it when people call me out. That's like challenging my manhood. So when I look at him, when he had his conversations with I believe Jody's Corner and some of them other fucking weirdos, the blue haired trans homosexual people that he was going at. Okay, I was with him, debating those particular people, but I did not know about some of the things that I started to come to know about certain issues that he was causing himself with certain people that I could at least say don't have a few screws loose in their head. They're actually regular people. And how very different his energy was towards those people versus the people that he was going at. And let me segue into this aspect. I started to notice, of course, him being amongst those people with what do they call it, Friday Night Tights and the Geeks and Gamers individuals. I started to notice certain things. I'm gonna be honest, man. Let me just say it. I'll say it because I don't mince words on any of my platforms. I'm not really gonna mince words here, even though I try to keep it as well mannered as I can to get out the message so that people can understand what I'm talking about. But there was look with Eric July, okay. With Eric July, it's funny because whenever he goes at certain people, whether it be women or whether it be other black people, he has a certain tone. Whether he calls women, I believe there was a chick named Nerdette, you know, called her what do you call her, a walrus or something, with a heifer. Oh, that's what he called her, a heifer. Okay. And he started to talk shit about Jody's the cat Jody Connor's weight, and made references of him being a fat ass and whatnot. Ironically enough, he himself is fat as fuck, and he himself is not an appealing guy to look at. Pause, if necessary. Shout out to my man Adept HNIC. All right, because we ain't with that faggot shit, man. But but point being, he himself is an ugly motherfucker. He himself is a fat motherfucker himself. Had the audacity to call other motherfuckers fat and whatnot. But point being, he turns up on women and other black people. But when it comes to other men, he barely turns up on those guys, especially ones that come at him intellectually. And when they come at him with real questions. And let me just segue into this. I didn't realize none of this until December 2023. In December 2023, right? Oh, man, that was a very dark time. It was kind of like a dark age time for me because, ironically, I got sick that time. They said, I don't believe in COVID, honestly. I believe it was a flu because I recovered within a week. Wasn't fully recovered until two or 3 weeks later, but it felt like a flu. I wasn't dying. I caught a huge cold back at the same time in 2022, and that shit felt like I was gonna die when I was dealing with that, and that felt that I wasn't diagnosed with COVID, but apparently everybody in the house that I lived with got it. Ironically enough, but I got it in 2023 or December of 2023. So I was laid out, right? So basically it was a flu. I got laid out. So I started to look through YouTube, feeling miserable as hell. Ironically enough, I come across a video of a guy named, I believe his name is, what was his name at the time? Geek Getaway or Geek Getaway or something like that. A guy named Frog Tony on YouTube, bashing Eric July. And this is still around the time where I was still supporting Eric July. And I was like, hey, what the fuck? What's going on? Now, me being the guy that I am, I like to talk shit to whoever I if I see someone I don't like or something I don't like, I'm going to talk some shit. That's just how I am. You know what I'm saying? But they was talking shit back, or they kind of deflected, the shit talkers. Like, okay, these guys ain't the typical emotional motherfuckers on YouTube. But eventually, I started to read some comments, and they were talking about one of the people that he employed, which was the Saska sisters. All right. And some of the dastardly things that they were doing, some of the overt satanic Luciferian shit that they were doing, right? As far as, first and foremost, kissing each other, straight up incest. And that was something I noticed about them when he had them on. Like, they were way too comfortable being that close to each other, even as women and sisters. They were very, it was very strange. And I kind of sensed a incestual energy behind that. No lie, but I couldn't put two and two together. I should have. I was also, even before this, right, I did question. Now, look, I'm not going to say this. I'm going to say this. Even if you do make $1 million, that doesn't mean that you sold out. If you make 2 or 3 million, that doesn't necessarily mean you sold out. But I did have to question how his success came right? Speaking of Eric July, especially given the fact of who he's employed by. And me understanding the things that I know, right? not that I supposedly know, things that I know. When I so you had the things with the Soska sisters. I mean, with all the, you know, straight up evil shit that they were doing, right? And that shit is on camera. A lot of the things that they were doing, and there was even reference to pederast. All right, you know, of them sitting up here filming little kids, and they took this shit off of YouTube, or my bad, off of Twitter. They took those pictures off of Twitter, off of their Twitter page, and luckily people have saved those pictures. And it was so those things that was what. So a lot of those things that I started to see. All right, a lot of the videos that they were putting out. So I pretty much, you know, for 2 weeks started watching that whole Geek Getaway channel to see the whole, you know, the whole timeline of what they were talking about with Eric July. And there was a lot of things that I was not aware of. And also, I think this was around the same time. I think he ducked out of a debate with one of his former employees, EVS, or known as Ethan Van Cipher. All right, a comic book pro. Ironically enough, you know, I've started to recognize that this dude was writing this very Green Lantern or he was a part of the same team that was producing a lot of the Green Lantern comics during the late 2000s, mid to late 2000s, because Green Lantern was always one of my favorite characters, especially Hal Jordan, John Stewart as well. He was one of my favorites. Kyle Rayner and what's his name, Guy Gardner that can fuck off, especially Kyle Rayner, a whining motherfucker. Fucking character. I can't stand whiners. But back to it. You know, he conducted out of a debate, and that's what kind of threw me off with this guy, because all up to that point, his whole character was built off of going at people, taking all challenges, right? Things that I can admire, right? Because I think he made a threat to somebody about, or an open challenge to somebody about boxing somebody, ironically enough. Right? I forget who it was. It was a video back in 2023. I don't know who he had issue with. Mind you, this is a whole fucking year later, right? This is August 16th, 2024 that I'm making this recording and whatnot. So of course I'm not going to remember what happened in 2023, or every little bit of 2023 for that matter. But here's another aspect to it, right? So you had the Soska sisters, you had him ducking out of debates, and then me accumulating the understanding of what this guy was about. You know, him, I guess he had an issue with the guy, with the lawyer guy that, you know, of course is, you know, fucking up his own life, right? And I don't know that guy enough to even really speak on that situation, but I know that, you know, whenever you expose little kids to drugs, man, you ain't shit, man. I don't give a fuck who you are, what your background is. But point being, you know, the situation with that, I guess he was caught on some child fraud, some fraudulent shit with a child care. I'd have to go look back on it, but some fraudulent shit he was doing with scamming people, pricing his books more for a child fund foundation or something like that. In a roundabout way, if I'm not mistaken, when I watched the interview, he kind of admit to it without admitting to it. All right. And I've seen guys on YouTube do this shit a lot, man. They'll tell you, oh, well, it's not this reason, but then they'll name you the very reason right in front of your face, which that is a form of witchcraft if you didn't know. All right. But point being, you know, with that, these are all the things that I started to accumulate. Also to the Dick Masterson interview, in other interviews as well, and it's like, man. So I started to so I was like, you know what? I did have a certain I did have a certain idea that there's some esotericism going on with this guy, right? Now, this is a whole nother level that I'm getting to, but I kind of suspected that there might have been something more than meets the eye with Eric July, but I couldn't put my finger on it. But with him not denouncing the sisters, actually promoting them, and them having leftist ideologies, mind you, I don't fuck with the left or the right. They're both same wings on the same goddamn dragon. All right, a dragon that needs to be hacked and hewn into pieces. Okay, but we understand. But of course, looking at the ideologies of the left, all right, or these weird motherfuckers, man, like they want your children. They want to turn you out to the dark side in many different ways. So understanding that is entirely different than what this guy has been portraying himself over the last couple years that I've been watching him since 2022. So, when I started to look at what they call the detractors of July or Mr. July, I'm starting to look at this from a whole different angle. And I'm like, wow, this guy is not the guy that he portrayed to be. And of course, don't nobody owe you nothing. If someone is playing a game or playing a role or being an actor, they don't owe you a goddamn thing. Right? And that's something that, especially if you don't know them. If you don't know them personally, then, you can't be disappointed in somebody when you don't know them, because when you come on this YouTube or this internet shit, people to a certain degree, but you don't really know them unless you know them on a face-to-face level. And on an off topic, that's a whole nother thing dealing with this internet. That can be the downfall with this internet. You think you know somebody when you really don't know them. But I can't say I'm disappointed, but it's like, okay, this guy's not who he said he is. But at the same time, I'm not having no emotion about it. I'm not saying, I hate this dude. Look, he hasn't done nothing to me, for me to hate him. But at the same time, he has done things to other people, and has been a straight up a bitch towards other people whenever he gets criticized about his work or have critiques about his own book, or doing foul shit or allowing foul shit because you're an influencer and people follow you. You're allowing your followers to do things to other people that's obscene, doxing people, doing all kinds of evil shit. Mind you, I have been doxed. I have been threatened. I've been threatened. I mean, I've had people put money lines on my motherfucking head before. All right, or at least threatened to. If you come on this block, you gon', and mind you, this is over some YouTube shit I could have you removed off this block. I've had people say this shit to me on YouTube, right? Because they got exposed. They got put out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, So me understanding those things, me experiencing those things, and mind you, of course, I'm not stupid enough to go and do what I want to do, because I want to keep my freedom. I don't want to be a fugitive or a marked man by the local authorities over some stupid shit. But you allowing the shit to happen is a fucked up thing. Now, I'm gonna say this: nobody should be posting nobody's fucking address or where they work at on the internet. I don't give a fuck who you are or what side you on. Because I've had that shit happen. People come up to my job and be like, oh, yeah, I know you. Boy, I'll fucking put you. You know what? Nah. You know what? PG-13. Let's just say that. I want to keep it, once again, mild, because I don't want this shit to get chipped off of YouTube. Like, YouTube loves to fuck with me like that. But point being, this a very heel turn, a very heelish turn this man has created over the past 7 years that I've been observing since this year has started, right? And I was befuddled by this shit. But at the same time, it is what it is. And I started to really think back and like, you know what? Initially, when someone, when they start to make this kind of money, and of course, when you're affiliated with people like The Blaze, Glenn Beck, mind you, all sides are part of the same. Look, when you go look in the history of both the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, the left and the right wing, they all come from the same fucking source. They're all controlled by the same fucking people. It's like Kamala Harris and Trump. People don't want to hear this, but both of these motherfuckers are two heads of the same dragon. It's WWE. It's heel versus faces. It's a very simple formula. People knock the WWE. People knock AEW or WCW or ECW or NWA or whichever wrestling promotion you can think of. But you know what? Wrestling's very real. You know why? Because everyone used the formula. Your fucking sports, your baseball games, your football games, your boxing matches and MMA fights and shit. Yes, they do. They are a part of the same. They're running the same script. Especially especially when it comes to these team sports, they run the same fucking scripts. Okay? Rigging is there. Just like this shit is rigged. So, using that as an analogy, this guy's whole thing could have been rigged the whole time. And there was just certain moving pieces that he used, right? Because he was funded by a particular entity. And mind you, you don't have to be intelligent to be a pawn. Pawns are not intelligent. They just serve their purpose. He used certain moving pieces to move where he needed to move to get where he needed to get at. And if he is a part of certain things like a fraternity or if he's a part of a brotherhood, right? If he's really down with something like that, then his whole thing could have been contrived from the whole very time. Could have been contrived this whole time, all right? And that's the situation that I kind of suspected, especially seeing how much he grossed and how he grossed it. And I started to realize certain things that with him and these geeks and gamers and these F&T individuals, I'm not going to say every last one of those guys, but when it comes to some of those guys like Jeremy and some of them other guys, something kind of strange about them dudes. I already can sense it, but then when I started to look at some of the symbolism that they have and some of the symbolism that Eric July has, it starts to make sense. I didn't really look into it last year. I just had a sentiment of it. But now that I look at it now, I look at it to this very day. Yeah, there's a whole lot more things that people don't even touch on because they're not symbol literate. They don't really understand that aspect. They understand the surface level shit that goes on with these particular people, such as the Eric July. They understand all that. They understand the finances, the financial aspect, and those things. Those things are very well, need to be documented. And a lot of other goofy shit with some of his inept ability to be a writer or a storyteller, or him, being him pretty much making a heel turn in not being a right winger or a Donald Trump, whatever he is now. You know what I'm saying? He's a libertarian. It's just all these weird old terms. Listen, man, I always call myself an independent, man. I always stood out from the crowd, man. I have negative shit to say about everything because I have pros and cons to everything whenever I evaluate certain things or certain people or certain entities. And when you look at the situation with Eric July, you know, that's how I look at it. And when you go back on everything that you claim to be, then you become a whole oxymoron. You're a walking, breathing, living oxymoron. You're a hypocrite. All right? So that's my assessment of Eric July and what's been going on with this guy. And mind you, I am an independent. I can't say I'm neutral, because there's certain things I look at how he talks and the way he acts. It's bitch made, without a more eloquent term. It's bitch made. So if I probably was in the presence of him, maybe I could have a decent conversation with the guy because I'm just that kind of guy. But I know that if I ask him real questions, right, on a respectful level, I know he's gonna start acting like a little faggot about it, and it's gonna go downhill. So I could tell that it could go either which way. So I'm just saying, if I was I just, the way he's moving, I don't like it. I just don't respect it. And I don't like the shit that he's done or what he's stuck to. Especially, he had an issue with a Christian church, and I'm not a Christian, by the way. But how do you claim to be a Christian, but then you shit on another Christian, other people that were a Christian church that made a copyright claim on a name that you're supposedly using? And see, and the timing of that was very strange too. I don't know. It's something fucking strange about that. But you call them fake Christians, but you sit up here and you have two Luciferian daughters of Satan ass bitches, right, up in your organization. All right, up writing for your very own comics, and you have no problem with that. You turn a blind eye to that. And that just leaves the door open to say that, yeah, man, Eric July himself might be a pawn for a certain type of fraternity or entity or brotherhood. And I'm going to be honest, I found it ironic, too, that Eric July, I find it ironic that this dude was crying about somebody calling him a Freemason. See, let me say this before I close up. Once again, back in 2023, I kind of suspected certain things just because of how much he grossed and who he's affiliated with the Blaze, with Glenn Beck. And I'm rehashing this again, but I want to hit it home. I'm being repetitive for a reason. There's something more going on, something more sinister going on with Eric July. Since the last year, and other people called it out. And I must tell you something. And I might show this in a later video when I do the series. I had a slight interaction with him on Twitter, and I kind of find it ironic because I knew he was going to respond in a way when I told him something, because I was being very careful with my words, because I wanted him to say what I thought he was going to say, which he ended up saying it anyway, or which he ended up doing anyways. I just said that I just hope you didn't sell out. I put in certain kind of words. You'll see it in the later video, but I hope that, I hope you didn't sell out, or I hope you're being authentic. And he reshared that my particular comment, and it was kind of like, oh, get this guy, because it was very strange that he didn't even respond to that, but he sat up there and he reposted my comment towards him, because it was a whole back and forth over some goofy shit. Oh yeah, and by the way, let me say this too about Eric July, man. And this is something that I don't like about him. He has some very coonish, very Sambo-ish ways about him. All right. I mean, you're the same dude that's sitting up here hugging up with a guy who went down to kill, with all with all intents and purpose of the words. He was going down to the place he went down to kill niggers, but he killed other people. He shot other people, and that's what got that Kyle Rittenhouse person in trouble. Although that whole situation in and of itself could have been contrived. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it. I need to go look to see if that was contrived or not. I'm pretty sure it was, because that was, whenever things happen on a world stage like that, when it becomes national news, it's used, whether it actually happened or not, it is being used for propaganda. They like to play this little race war game, which, racism is a big thing, of course, in this country, but a lot of it is amped up and contrived by the powers that be, or shouldn't be, however which way you want to say it. But him hugging up with Kyle Rittenhouse, him saying certain things, him affiliating with racists like the faggots that are on F&T and Geeks and Gamers. I mean, those faggots are a bunch of racists. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen their comments and some of the things that they've said over the years. Them fucking weirdos, man. I mean, certain people don't got a life, man. I don't know what it is, man. But it is what it is. If you hate black people, then it is what it is. If you don't like black people, just let it be known, right? But now I will say this. Now, here's another thing I need to cover about the racist part. I would say a lot of things that people have an issue with Eric July, I would say 95% of it has nothing to do with race. 90 to 95% of it has nothing to do with race. But I have seen racist comments from certain people, or when I say certain people, I say people that are more obscure than the people that I've encountered on this whole Eric July subject, who happen to be non-black. All right. There are I would say very small to little to none when it comes to racism, but there is going to be some there. All right. I have seen people use the word but the funny thing is with Eric July in that situation is that Eric July affiliates himself with people who literally tell you that they don't like black people. Right? They throw out the N word or the nigger word all the time. Right? Even though, look, black people use the N word, but a lot of people on this planet, in particular in America, they don't even know where the N word comes from, whether it be nigga or nigger. All right, they don't, which is the same word. They don't know where the word comes from. None of them do. The black people don't know where it comes from. Racist ass white boys don't know where it comes from. White people in general don't know where it comes from. Black people in general don't know where it comes from. These other races of people don't know where it comes from. I would say 98% of people don't know where it comes from. All right. So, of course, people are going to use it to, a lot of non-black people will use it to get at black people. A lot of black people use it as a term of endearment. All right. But I digress on that. The point that I'm making is that when it comes to race, because he is a black content creator, black comic book creator, yeah, there's going to be a certain level of racism. But the funny thing is that he himself encourages certain people that he associates with don't even like his ass or don't like the people he comes from or descends from, right? Ironically enough. So it's a double whammy with him. You support races, but then there's there's a couple people that will use race or mention your race when it comes to you creating your content. Not many, but enough to at least point it out. But once again, I mean, this has been a epilogue to this series. I will be touching on a lot of various things, especially I really want to touch on the esoteric potential Luciferianism that's going on with this fool. All right. But just because nobody's really talking about it because they don't amongst the people that have an issue with him, or just people that talk about him in general, because people just don't know about it, and it's okay, it's fine, because most people don't understand what goes on in this world. They don't really understand the simulation that we live in, anyways. But with that being said, man, this is Dragon Man Edutainment, and I will be coming back with a couple more videos on this channel. I'm trying to build something different. Of course, I'll still be talking boxing shit on my boxing story in 206 page, or my new one. All right, just in case anybody that will be like, oh, I recognize this dude. Yeah, they took my fucking page down. All right, or it is what it is. But yeah, I will be coming back with some more videos, and I will be touching on this subject with Eric July on multitude of different scenarios. So with that said, I'm out. Peace.